think the most important thing to understand is hotels are fundamentally worth different than apartment buildings are. If a listener is familiar with cap rates, a hotel might trade at a 12 cap versus a 6 or 7 cap in the same market on the apartment side. Or if you think about just a multiple of the revenue that it generates, a hotel might trade for between 3 to 5 times the revenue it generates versus an apartment building, which will trade for 7 to 12 times the revenue it generates. And that's because investors like multifamily more than hotels.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm Kristen, and I'm here with Ryan Sudeck, who is the CEO of Sage Investment Group. We're going to talk about affordable housing. They function in multiple states, so I'm excited to get into it. Thank you for being here, Ryan.
Thanks so much for having me, Kristen.
Yeah, so let's go back to the beginning. How did you fall in love with real estate? How did you get into the industry?
Yeah. Well, man, we can go back pretty far when it comes to my story. So as a kid, on the weekends, I was swinging hammers with my dad. He was a pilot by trade and had a small portfolio of real estate properties in our hometown, always doing, the renovation work himself. And so I'd help him out on the weekends. Post 9/11, the airlines all went bankrupt. He lost his retirement, his pension, took a big pay cut, and my parents, kept their house, and we kept our lifestyle because of the passive income that came from those real estate investments. So it was a very formative experience for me. I knew I wanted that one day. Was lucky enough to, have a corporate career and started on the weekends investing in multifamily real estate. Again, doing a lot of the work myself, pulling out a lot of the old, hiring people to make it new again. I wasn't so good at that. But that kind of got me, that was my start, right? It started at a young age, and was blessed to be able to start doing it, in my kind of mid-20s on my own.
And what did that, because obviously when you're starting to invest, it's a very rocky road, or it can be at least, if you're very, very lucky. What did that look like? Because I know that you were really interested in real estate for the stability and, how it could provide for yourself. Were you ever nervous starting out, seeing the reality of how difficult it is?
I'd say my wife was probably a bit more nervous than I was. I had an example, right? I had seen family members do it in the past. The first property we bought was a 6-plex in Tacoma, Washington. So I live just outside of Seattle, Washington. So it's about 45 minutes, an hour from where I live. And this place was listed on the market, had a bunch of foundation issues. We were able to negotiate a good deal. We fixed those issues, rented it out, and the power of being able to, renovate, fix something up, see its value increase, and then do a cash out refinance. We moved on and took all of our investment out and went and bought an 8-plex. So, I think my wife was a little skeptical at the beginning, but seeing the proof point and the power there, she quickly jumped on board. But it certainly took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for that first project. Really, any project takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, especially when you're doing a lot of construction work to it.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, when you're doing a lot of it yourself, I mean, it's really impressive to start. I'm always just so impressed with people who just go right into it and, find success. And then let's, transition. How did you get involved with Sage Investment Group?
Yeah, great question. So after buying that 6-plex and then the 8-plex, I sold both of those, ended up buying a 16 unit and a 30 unit with a couple partners. With all of those transactions, I was working with my now business partner, Ross Hubbard. Him and his wife, Emily, started Sage Investment Group back in 2020. Prior to that, they were helping folks like myself, transact on real estate, get matched up with contractors, all in the Seattle area and beyond. And so fast forward, had this 16 unit and this 30 unit. Sage got started in 2020 through an UPREIT. So what had happened is Ross had been working with these other groups, kind of formed individual property syndications. Between the two that I had and the ones that he had, there were 14 total properties. And so we actually brought those together to form Sage Investment Group and issued shares to all of the folks who had invested in those individual deals so that they got to participate in all of the properties. And then that's how Sage was formed. So we started this evergreen fund in 2020. Had been doing value add multifamily deals at that time. And around a similar time, actually starting in 2019, we started our first hotel conversion project in Tucson, Arizona. And that was an interesting story that I'm happy to go into. But once we delivered that in 2020, leased it up, sold it in 2021, it was the inspiration for us really focusing on this model that we're doing today. And now we've started our 25th hotel conversion project now.
Wow. And so, that was a really formative period in the company. Talk about what made that different, what made that interesting for you guys?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing to understand is hotels are fundamentally worth different than apartment buildings are. If a listener is familiar with cap rates, a hotel might trade at a 12 cap versus a 6 or 7 cap in the same market on the apartment side. Or if you think about just a multiple of the revenue that it generates, a hotel might trade for between 3 to 5 times the revenue it generates versus an apartment building, which will trade for 7 to 12 times the revenue it generates. And that's because investors like multifamily more than hotels. I think the most important thing to understand is hotels are fundamentally worth different than apartment buildings are. If a listener is familiar with cap rates, a hotel might trade at a 12 cap versus a 6 or 7 cap in the same market on the apartment side. Or if you think about just a multiple of the revenue that it generates, a hotel might trade for between 3 to 5 times the revenue it generates versus an apartment building, which will trade for 7 to 12 times the revenue it generates. And that's because investors like multifamily more than hotels. Hotels you have to employ, cleaning staff. You have to, maintain the furniture. You're washing sheets every night. Occupancy is usually around 63%, at least in our area of the country. Compare that to an apartment building where you might have 1 to 3 staff for a 100 to 200 unit building. Occupancy is usually above 90%. Expenses are lower. There's a lot less complexity. So investors pay more. So, if you just look at that first project we did in Tucson, Arizona, it cost us all in about $11.7 million to create 175 studio units in Tucson. And we were able to sell it within 19 months for $18.9 million.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And so that's just the power of, taking something that was, not functioning at its highest and best use, that had distress, was valued as a hotel, and converting that into a beautiful community that tenants wanted to live in. That's just worth more. We typically see at least a 40% increase in the value of what it costs us to acquire and renovate a property to what it's worth as an apartment building. So that's, really attractive from an investment perspective. But more than that, we're focused on helping address the affordable housing crisis. Everyone in America is probably acutely aware of just how expensive housing has gotten. And what we're creating at the end of the day by repurposing these hotels is a fully amenitized, usually a studio unit that rents for $300 to $500 less per month than the luxury buildings that most developers are building. And we're able to create these units for about $100,000 per unit on average, which is about half of what it would take to build them from the ground up. So that's been our strategy. We see this insatiable demand for this naturally affordable housing, and couple that with a really strong investment thesis. That's why we have so much conviction in it.
That's amazing. And you guys function in 6 different states, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Which states are you in?
So, Washington State, it's our backyard. We know it well. It's also a really strong real estate market. We've got mountains and water everywhere, so people have to drive pretty far to find housing price relief, similar to places like the Bay Area. So we're in Washington State. We're in Texas. We're in the Carolinas, both North Carolina, South Carolina. We're in Alabama and Indiana right now. We're planning to go into Colorado and Florida later this year.
Wow, that's really impressive. And how do you manage all of the different, I'm sure there's different zoning laws and different, just in general with affordable housing, different laws. How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, with a big team. We've got 30 folks on our team now at Sage. And in the early days, when I joined a little over 2 years ago, I think we were a little less than 10 folks at the time. So we've grown, we've evolved a lot. The bulk of our team is focused on that development effort, as you mentioned. We have to go in, we have to talk to the city, the planning department, the zoning department, because ultimately we're taking a building that is functioning as a commercial property, and we're asking the city to let us, or whatever the jurisdiction is, asking them to allow us to have it as a residential use. And that looks different in any market. So if we've been in the market before, we know the playbook a bit, we know the parties involved, but most of the time, our head of community relations, Whitney, and our head of planning, Jeff, are talking to the city. They're talking to the politicians, the city council members, the head of HOAs, to educate them on what we're doing and what we're not doing, right? We are trying to meet a need for the missing middle, the folks who need an affordable, great place to live. And they also come and say, hey, we've done this 25 times before. We know what the code book says. We look a little different. So let's have an active dialogue about what requirements you're going to hold us to. Here's what we've seen other cities hold us to. Like, do you agree? And so it changes the conversation, because in the early days, we were just figuring it out. We went to the city and we're like, all right, we're going to do this. Like, give us a permit. And we got burned by that. We had to learn about how they were going to apply the energy code to us, or, parking ratios and other requirements. And it's just totally changed, flipped on its head now, where, we can have that proactive conversation well ahead of when we're getting under contract to acquire the property. And it just really mitigates the risk in a big way.
Yeah. And have you ever had a situation where they just flat out don't want it to be residential apartments?
We have. Yeah. There's a bit of, there's a lot of tax revenue that comes in from hotels that I think some cities might want that. I'd say politically, no matter what party affiliation, a politician might be with, everyone wants more affordable housing.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
we're all suffering from it right now, but how that gets implemented is a challenge. Other cities haven't overtly denied us the ability to do it, but there are programs in place that have made it, just put up too big a barrier. So for example, in some places, they charge impact fee, what are known as impact fees, when you build a new property. Well, that doesn't matter if you're building a 10-bedroom, 10,000 square foot mansion. They treat it the same as a 300 square foot studio efficiency unit in our conversion project. And so, if they're going to put $15,000, $20,000 in impact fees, it just makes the financials of the project untenable. So we've walked away from deals in that scenario before too.
Definitely. I mean, this model is so cool. I imagine getting people involved as investors because you not only see a really great return, but you also get to have the social impact.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like, certainly I'm talking my own book here, but I feel like we have the best of both worlds. You can kind of have impact, but not have to compromise on the returns. You said it super well, Kristen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so cool. And so now you're scaling your team. I would love for you to talk about kind of how you even go about hiring. What have been some maybe early on mistakes that you've learned from? Just what's your strategy with getting good people around you?
Yeah. Let's start with the mistake side. When you're scaling, folks have to wear a lot of different hats, and you're working with few resources, you're learning. And I think in the early days, we had the same people working on construction management as trying to help lease up the building, through an asset management function. And then at some point, we had folks specialize, but making that leap is hard, right? Being able to, not just capture the learnings from the individuals who are doing it all end to end, but then breaking it apart and having this end to end process from permitting and planning to design to going out to bid to a number of construction companies to then managing those construction folks, then getting the right property manager, and then holding them to account to a budget. Now we have the specialization of roles, and we're really blessed to have strong leadership across asset management and construction management. Our general counsel is fantastic, planning and design. And now we've got these leaders who have done this other places and brought those learnings to Sage. And that's really given us the ability to plug in more, other more junior staff that can help us scale as we're going into new markets. So on construction management, Chris leads construction management. He has construction managers, under him. We can staff against, the right ratio of projects to CMs. And then as we go into new markets, hiring construction managers in those new markets. And we've had some great partnerships with recruiting firms that are specialized to real estate to help us find that talent and help us scale that way.
Amazing. And you being CEO, what are some of the fundamental, how do you create culture within the company?
It's a great question. My background's in M&A, and so culture's been such a fascinating study for me because when you bring companies together through a merger and acquisition, you usually have a clash, and you got to figure out all right, what are we going to preserve from each other? And I feel like culture is never a static thing. It's something we're always continuing to evolve. Here at Sage, I think in-person time, leading with authenticity and transparency, I think is really important. And, we've started, just trying to work in core values to our vernacular. But it's really the way in which we conduct ourselves that define the culture. I wouldn't say we have it perfect or right. And I think when we were a 10-person company versus a 30-person company, it was very different. Now that we're more of a distributed team, it looks very different. As hopefully we have the privilege to go from 30 to maybe 100 people one day, I think our culture will also look very different. So it'll be an evolution. It's something that, as a leader, I think about a lot. Transparently, I think I've been underinvesting my time in that area and knowingly want to invest more of my time into it. Because it helps us all just work better together.
Of course. And then what are your guys' scaling plans? I know you have big goals for the next 5 years.
We do. We currently have about 3,000 units in our portfolio. We love the impact that that's having on communities and being able to offer this naturally affordable housing. our goal is to scale to 15,000 units over the next 5 years. We think that we've got the path and the plan to do so, that this strategy is going to be it's going to be around at least for the next 5 years, if not longer. It's hard to project much longer than 5 years. Some days it feels hard to project even 5 days.
Right.
But our big, hairy, audacious goal is to get to 15,000 units of impact over the next 5 years.
Amazing. Well, you guys are doing such good work in all these communities, and I'm sure it really is a trickle effect where the work you're doing really helps the surrounding community.
It does, yeah. If I could share just one case study,
Of
I
course.
mentioned Tacoma being the city that I bought my first real estate investment in. It's also a place where, as Sage, we've purchased a number of hotels, and there's one street and one district called the Hosmer District, Hosmer Street, where we've now purchased 4 hotels and renovated them. The first one we bought was in 2022, and that area post-COVID really fell on hard times. A lot of these hotels were harboring criminals, just looking the other way in exchange for criminals paying cash to stay there. And it grew to be accountable for about 10% of the murders in the state of Washington. It's pretty tragic. And so we came in, and since 2022, there hasn't been any violent crime. We've seen overall crime reduced by 50% in that area. The police used to send 3 officers to respond to any call in that area. Now they only send 1. And it's been really cool to see the revitalization of that street and the real impact that's been had there.
That's incredible because that influences so many people, obviously the community and the city, but also the police. They're using less resources to come out. That's incredible.
So
So,
much.
you've given us a lot of good information about affordable housing, building your business, and Sage Investment seems like such a great investment. Tell people how to get involved with Sage.
Yeah, certainly reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me via our website too. Our website's sageinvestment.com. You can fill out the form there. But yeah, I welcome the chance to chat with anyone who's interested in what we're doing or joining the team.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate you having me.
And thanks for everyone for listening. And I hope you learned a lot. And we'll see you back next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.